I'm Ernabel Demillo, and welcome to a new season of Asian American Life. I'm in the heart of the fashion capital of the world, and this month, fashion designers are getting ready to show off their fall collections. And that's why we're devoting this month's show to fashion with a dash of kindness. Move over Vera Wang. Fashion designer Andrew Kwon says I do with wedding dresses. Rafe handbags, always in season. Invisible Seams looks at the garment workers who make our clothes. Author and CEO James Rhee shows us how kindness helped turn an almost bankrupt fashion company around. And 1587 redefines what Asian American sneakers mean.
I'm Kyung Yoon. 4 years ago, during COVID lockdown, the last thing that most of us were thinking about were glamorous events, weddings, and the red carpet. But in 2020, one young designer decided to launch his namesake fashion line, focusing on bridal and evening gowns. And he's never looked back. Lily Gladstone, Arden Cho, Sophia Bush, and Constance Wu are among Hollywood's A-listers who have walked the red carpet dressed in Andrew Kwon's designs. The 28-year-old fashion designer who graduated from Parsons School of Design just 5 years ago says he was drawn to the allure of beauty and fashion even as a little boy growing up in Colorado, far away from the glamour of city lights.
I used to watch a lot of Miss Universe growing up. I would watch it through YouTube and I would watch the whole competition, and I've always found it so fun and exciting.
So he couldn't believe it when the 2018 Miss Universe, Catriona Gray, chose to wear gowns that he had designed while he was still in school.
I had a few pieces from my thesis collection at Parsons and somehow got an email from the stylist Rhee, who was styling her last photo shoot with the Miss Universe organization, and they just pulled a bunch of my pieces and it got placed on her. And so you'll probably hear me start to say this word a lot now, but I always say serendipity. Somehow the world just worked its way backwards in some way, and that moment happened right after college, and that was one of, super exciting for me.
And the excitement has continued to grow for the talented young Korean-American designer who's garnered attention and accolades from the media and the fashion industry alike. He's trained with Vera Wang, Marchesa, and Chloe, but injects his own brand with a modern take on romance, drama, and fantasy. He also draws inspiration from his Korean heritage, like this dress with beaded flowers, peacocks, and cranes, resembling antique Korean furniture inlaid with mother of pearl.
Like I said, over 400 hours of work just for beading.
Beautiful.
So it's crazy, and it's the first time I really was taking Korean inspiration of heritage and culture, and thankful to CFTA and Genesis House for that.
Oh, it really works.
Yeah.
But the designer says his greatest inspiration is his mother, who always managed to look stylish even as she navigated life's hardships as an immigrant in America.
What she always did, no matter the circumstance, was put herself so polished together. It didn't have to be in the most expensive clothes or the most expensive bags, but she somehow always found a way to dress and style herself that made her, when she walked into a room, everyone would look at her hair, her makeup, her eyelashes, her lipstick.
Kwon has shown his collections at New York Fashion Week, and his gowns are available at Bergdorf Goodman. In July, he had yet another moment of serendipity when Bergdorf showcased his dresses in their windows on Fifth Avenue.
Someone from the Bergdorf team sent a photo and goes, "Oh my God." And I saw my gown in that window and I just thought, how crazy.
So many people come to New York with that dream, especially around fashion, and here you are, kind of living that dream.
It feels, to me, it still sort of feels surreal sometimes, but so many people come to New York with the biggest dreams. It's really about just dreaming big and dreaming bigger and keep dreaming after that. I think the sky's the limit for so many people. And I feel like the sky's still the limit for me, and I want to keep achieving more.
Andrew Kwon's vision is to continue to grow his brand as a luxury couture line that could, in the future, expand to cosmetics, perfumes, and accessories. It's clear that we'll be hearing from this promising young designer for many years to come. I'm Kyung Yoon for Asian American Life.
There's a saying that behind every successful woman is a fabulous handbag. We say behind every fabulous handbag is an amazing designer. Rafe Tatenko's handbags have a story to tell.
This one is called Aya, after a friend of mine, Aya Abesamis. She is a model. You know, this is the kind of bag that she would wear because it's got like all the colors. Another one that I really love, this is really an ode to my mom because she loves blue and white.
Do you have a favorite bag, or is that like asking
yes,
your favorite child?
Okay.
Okay.
Very hard.
The handbag designer recently invited us into his New York City home. As the air conditioner buzzed in the background, he showed off just some of his favorite pieces, because it really is hard to choose just one.
So I love this because this is all completely hand beaded. If you can see the detail of this, it's all like tiny bugle beads, or like seed beads actually. And it's also re-embroidered. So it's a lot of it's all done by hand. This cannot be made by machine.
Timeless, unique. These are just some of the adjectives used to describe Tatenko's handbags. When he launched his namesake collection almost 3 decades ago, fashionistas quickly took notice. He collected award after award, including being a finalist for the prestigious CFDA prize. His love for fashion goes way back when he was a young boy in the Philippines. It started with a question from a tailor.
So I get to the tailor, and the tailor was like, "What do you want?" I was like, "What do you mean, what do I want?" He's like, "You can have anything you want." I was like, "Oh my God, really?" I was like, "Hold on, I'll be back in 5 days." So I bought a magazine, I started sketching, because I was like, well, I can make anything I want, might as well sketch it, right? That was a eureka moment for me, because all of a sudden I saw these sketches of mine at 5th grade, like, come to life.
That's when his obsession started. While his friends collected Star Wars dolls, Tatenko spent his allowance on fashion magazines. He credits his family, his mom and sisters, for their unwavering support, for both his career aspirations and for his coming out at an early age.
You know, I had the best upbringing. My mother was very supportive of me and my creativity. She never once said, "No, you can't do that," which was incredible because, you know, for somebody growing up gay and realizing I was gay early on was a bit of a, you know, I guess a pioneer in my school because nobody had really come out with it, right? And I came out very early, and it sort of set me free. It was like, you know, nobody could say, "I'm going to tell your parents." I'm like, too late, they know. You know, so it kind of gave me this confidence and be like, I can be anything I want because, you know, like, you can't touch me.
And what he wanted was to be in fashion, so he moved to New York City to study at FIT. While dreaming of designing clothes, destiny led him in another direction: belts. When he was starting out, he created belts for a fashion shoot, which he then sold to a Soho boutique. Then came the phone call that would change his life.
And then the buyer called me a week later and said, "Okay, the belts are gone, I want more. Do you make bags?" I was like, "Yes, they're just late." I mean, closed the phone, and I remember my roommate said to me, she's like, "What did you just commit to?" I said, "A handbag collection." I had never done handbags in my life.
That little white lie was the beginning of his handbag career, and what a career it has been. He is one of the most acclaimed Asian American designers in the world. You can find Rafe at luxury department stores like Neiman Marcus. His handbags grace the arms of dozens of celebrities and are featured in the magazines that he once read as a young boy in the Philippines. Your bags are definitely statement pieces.
Yes, no, I mean, like, listen, I mean, why wear a boring bag when you can wear something that, you know, be a statement piece?
Tatenko is heralded for his timeless designs, handbags and clutches inspired by the world around him, architecture, art, and his travels, which he chronicles on social media with the hashtag #CanITellYou. Oh, she looks familiar. And there's plenty to tell, like the story behind this bag. Talk about a long wait list.
Another favorite that I love is this one, which is like, I mean, talk about slow manufacturing. This probably takes, I don't know, like 5 to 8 years because we have to wait for the shell to be big enough to sort of harvest it. It's an abalone shell. You know, what I love is that this is the beauty of nature, right? They're always going to be a little different.
For Tatenko, the world is his oyster. And can I tell you, just like his famous handbags, Tatenko is timeless and one of a kind. For Asian American Life, I'm Ernabel Demillo. The New York City Garment District is the epicenter of the American fashion industry. And as filmmaker Gia Lee explores, the Asian garment workers here are the invisible backbone of that business.
Many hands go into creating beautiful clothing. The designer creates a sketch, and that sketch gets turned into a pattern, and then the pattern maker passes it to the cutter cuts out the pieces, passes it to the sewer. Like, every person in that stage has to do the best job that they can, and oftentimes that comes from a creative energy.
A process filmmaker, Gia Lee, documents in her film Invisible Seams, which dispels the myth that the designer does it all and highlights the talent and skills of New York City's unrecognized Asian garment workers.
When you think of Asian women in the garment industry, the visuals that come up are all just like sweatshop, you know, all like sort of indentured work somewhere, maybe in Asia, Southeast Asia. And you don't think about this in a sense that these are women who have agency and creativity and skills and are highly valued. So that's part of the stereotype that we were trying to change.
After the success of her 2021 viral hit Spicy Village, which focused on a struggling Chinatown restaurant during the pandemic, Chinese-born Lee was approached by Jody Chan, VP of Global Marketing at fashion label Carolina Herrera.
Jody was surrounded by what she noticed were Asian women who were working in the garment industry. And she just noticed, like, they never got their flowers, you know. Designers were always getting the spotlight. And so Jody decided to reach out to me and say, look, these Asian women, not only are they working in the garment industry, but certainly during those years and also currently, there was a lot of anti-Asian hate crimes, you know, violent incidents happening in New York. And these women were scared to death of going to work every day. So it came about kind of as a reaction to that.
Invisible Seams tells the stories of 8 Asian seamstresses and pattern makers in the garment district, focusing on their unique backgrounds and the circumstances that led them to New York's fashion district.
I think your generation, it was interesting to see people choosing to work in the garment industry, because prior to that, like the way that immigration from China, a lot of the women who ended up working in the factories did it out of necessity.
Yeah. For the women, it was the factories. For the men, it was the restaurants.
I think one of the big stereotypes is like a seamstress is just a seamstress. It's just labor, but you can see through the film like how important and creative and technical that is. But then also you can see that without language, it's really hard for people to, you know, elevate to the next rung of whatever that career is.
In recent years, many of these Asian immigrant garment workers who have spent decades perfecting their craft have moved away from the fashion district because of rising rents, outsourcing to other countries, challenges stemming from the pandemic, and the rise of anti-Asian violence. As more and more of these master garment workers leave, there's a sense of urgency to preserve the knowledge that's been passed down from generation to generation.
There's some aspect of this film that's kind of like a call out in case anyone wants to learn more about the skill set.
So what did you take away personally from making this documentary?
Personally, I know that I don't know enough about garment work, and that it's incredibly complex and creative. And also there's a rich history of garment work here in New York that is orchestrated, coordinated by Chinese immigrant workers, unions and labor strikes. It's very much tied together with the garment workers. So there's a deep history.
Invisible Seams can be viewed on Vimeo. For Asian American Life, I'm Susan Jun.
I'm Vivian Lee. Ashley Stewart, the fashion retailer that specializes in plus-size women's clothing, is the setting and inspiration for this book, Red Helicopter. Published earlier this year by a CEO that pulled the company back from the brink of liquidation, it urges corporate America to use more kindness. Today's Ashley Stewart Inc. is no accident. Created in 1991, the value fashion retailer caters to women of color who are full-figured and want to dress with pizzazz. The company nearly went bankrupt for the second time in 2014, a few months after James Rhee took the helm in a bid to save it. Rhee was a former high school teacher turned lawyer turned private equity investor who knew about restructuring dying companies, not running them.
There were a lot of hurricane winds in the face of this company, socially and economically. And so my thinking was, why do it the exact same way over and over again?
In Red Helicopter, Rhee describes how kindness and a little math turned Ashley Stewart around. It's a story about discovering how to work to live, not live to work. Rhee took a cue from his mostly Black and female workforce. Their relationship with customers, some who stopped by stores just to chat, was like family. It reminded him of his own immigrant mother and how she carried herself differently at a Korean grocery store.
Like, the Z-Snap? My mother was very confident in those Korean grocery stores. Most of her life, the systems of this country made her feel small, and I hated it. And this place made some women who are made to feel very small oftentimes, they felt big. And I liked it, and you can see it, it's body language.
Here's how he described Ashley Stewart's hidden value at Gutman College.
And so when I said to the Black women that I was working with, you understand that this is a historically significant business serving and employing Black women, the Black women would say, we didn't know because it's just in our neighborhood. I was like, it's only in Black neighborhoods. Do you know that? They're like, no, because we live in the neighborhoods. And so it's about perspective. But that's what I saw as a historian. I was like, wow, this is a national, significantly, like hundreds of millions of dollars business employing and serving Black women.
Over 7 years as CEO, Rhee changed the company's culture in small ways, scrapping the annual performance review and creating the CEO Citizenship Award that recognized mentoring and accountability. Kindness, the opposite of threatening, involves an exchange of actions that empower, that grant agency. And Rhee believed agency at work is what people craved.
Kindness and math, if you lead this way, right, it actually activates and allows you to activate the most thoughtful, reasoning part of your brain. It's very difficult to be creative and imaginative and entrepreneurial when you are scared.
Former assistant fashion buyer Tamara Ivey, who took charge of marketing on Ashley Stewart's social media channels, says agency was baked into the company's renewed focus on celebrating its core clientele.
We are judges, we're nurses, we're lawyers, we're teachers. We need more fashion. We need to not look like we're walking down the street in a bed sheet. He wanted us to take care of the woman in stores first, the one who was getting off work and who didn't have time to catch a babysitter. We used to say to James that he had a lot of soul.
Rhee says his experience with Ashley Stewart amounted to more than saving a company. It was a connective experience that flew in the face of the history between two communities of color.
There definitely have been some explosive moments between Asian American, particularly Korean American communities and African American communities. I also believe that there are a lot of stories that are not told of very intimate friendships. I don't know what would have happened if this predominantly black female colleague base had rejected me. We somehow were able to design a system and communicate it in a way that people remember the value of social capital and that money does not buy everything.
Rhee, who teaches at Howard University and the MIT Sloan School of Management, first learned that lesson in kindergarten with the gift of a toy red helicopter. To learn how that launched his success at Ashley Stewart, you'll have to read the book. For Asian American Life, I'm Vivian Lee.
Fashion Week steps into New York every September, but what about footwear fashion? Well, some folks call Boston Sneaker City. It's home to top brands like Converse, Reebok, and New Balance. But there are new kicks on the block, 1587 sneakers. And this new luxury brand is grounded in the Asian American identity.
1587 sneakers make a fashion statement rooted in the Asian American identity, says co-founder Adam King.
We're called 1587 sneakers because that's the first year that Asian Americans came to America.
The date was October 18, 1587. The first recorded Filipinos to visit the Americas landed in a Spanish galleon ship that docked in Morro Bay, California, more than 30 years before Europeans landed on Plymouth Rock.
And for us, it's like a rallying cry. So anytime people say like, oh, you're new to the country, you're a foreigner, it's like, what? No, we've been here for 400 years. We are not new.
A Boston native, King got into the sneaker game when he was just a kid watching the then 17-year-old American Michael Chang win the 1989 French Open.
For me to see a strong Asian American on TV inspired me. So I thought if I got his shoes, I could be as athletic as him.
Instead of tennis, King found a career in the sneaker industry. But after more than 2 decades, King walked away, disillusioned with the way companies were marketing to Asian Americans.
I can't tell you how many times I sat in meetings, I heard the same stuff over and over again. Asian Americans are follower consumers. You never need to market to them. Or the word Asian American is so uncool, it's like the third rail of marketing.
King knew that while Asian Americans make up about 6% of the population, they make up 14% of the sneaker market in the US. That's a huge chunk of the $24 billion annual revenue from sneakers.
Over the years, when I've been thinking about who I am, what I am, and who I want to be.
Partnering with Sam Hyun and journalist Jose Antonio Vargas, they launched 1587 sneakers on social media in 2022. Asian American history is on the tip of the tongues of each shoe, which are made with fine Italian leather in the same factory as Prada and Gucci, says King. Available only online, more than 2,000 pairs have been sold since they dropped. I went with King to AWOL Print Shop, where 1587's merch are made.
What's up, man?
What's going on? See ya.
What's up? What's up, man? So yeah, can I check the...
Yes, check it out.
So these are all the screens?
Yeah, this is the 2 screens that I use for the Connie jobs.
Shirts are the best way to tell stories. There's just so much more canvas. This is the Connie Chung Sea of Men photograph. And we chose this one because for us it's such a vibe.
1587 emblazoned the iconic photograph of veteran news anchor Connie Chung covering the 1973 Watergate hearings on a t-shirt. A portion of the proceeds goes to the Asian American Journalists Association.
Every single person I've shown that shirt to, they all say it seems like, oh God, I know exactly how she's feeling.
Yeah.
King says the 1587 brand not only pays homage to Asian American history, it is a footing for Asian Americans to stand proud and stand out. For Asian American Life, I'm Rainer Ramirez.
That's our show for now. If you want to learn more about our stories, be sure to follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok at Asian American Life. And did you know that you can now watch Asian American Life on the go? All you have to do is download the CUNY TV app on your phone. I'm Ernabel Demillo. We'll see you next time.